You think you're free, but look closer. Are you making choices or just following code? You say, I want success. I want peace. I want love. But who taught you to want that? Who defined what it means to succeed? Who programmed your sense of guilt, your fear of rejection, your need to prove? Was it your parents, your culture, your trauma? A moment you forgot, but your nervous system never did. Most people aren't living freely. They're just executing commands that were planted in them so early, they mistake programming for personality. They call it being responsible, being good, being successful, but it's not who they are. It's just who they were trained to be. And until you question the source of your thoughts, you'll keep building a life that doesn't belong to you. This video is not about feeling better. It's about reclaiming authorship, wiping the default settings, overriding the inherited narrative, and writing a new internal map, one that isn't traced by fear, shame, or expectation, because the most powerful version of you is not the one who's healed. It's the one who's no longer controlled. Let's begin. From conditioned to conscious. Part 1. The conditioned self. You didn't choose to be who you are. You were trained to be this version, not through violence, but through repetition. Praise when you were easy. Withdrawal when you pushed back. Smiles when you played the role. Silence when you questioned it. That's how the conditioned self is formed. You became the good one, the achiever, the helper, the peacemaker, the responsible one, the selfless one. And the lie was this. This is who I am. Number. That's who you became to stay safe, to be accepted, to survive a system that only rewarded control, not authenticity. Your thoughts, installed. Your guilt, programmed. Your reflexes, conditioned. I need to succeed. I have to earn love. I'm responsible for how others feel. If I speak my truth, I'll hurt someone. If I walk away, I'm selfish. If I slow down, I'm lazy. None of that is you. That's just code. And the deeper problem? The code runs automatically. You don't think. You react. You don't choose. You comply. You don't live. You perform. It's not identity. It's a loop. And every loop has one purpose: to keep you familiar, predictable, controllable. You wake up each day and call it routine. But what it really is obedience to a version of you that was designed, not decided. And until you disrupt that pattern, you'll keep playing a role in a life that doesn't feel like yours. Part 2. The break. At some point, the script stops working. You say yes, and feel resentment. You achieve and feel nothing. You try to be good and start to feel fake. That's the break. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's subtle, disturbing, undeniable. A shift inside that whispers, this isn't me anymore. But then comes the fear. If I stop being this version, what's left? You realize something terrifying. You've built your life on patterns you never chose. You've pursued goals you don't care about. You've performed identities you don't relate to. You've stayed in roles you secretly hate. Because breaking the role means confronting the void underneath. The void they never let you explore, the silence they always filled for you, the space where your real self was supposed to grow, but never got the chance. So now you feel torn. The old self is dying, but the new one hasn't formed yet. You're in limbo, detached from the past, not yet rooted in the future. This is the in-between dash, where everything you thought you were begins to collapse. And the world around you doesn't understand why you've changed. But you're not changing. You're just stopping the performance. And when that happens, the people who benefited from the performance will try to pull you back, not because they love you, but because they love the version of you that never questioned the script. Let it fall. Let it all fall, because collapse is not the end. It's the beginning of authorship. Part 3. The exit. Leaving isn't always a decision. Sometimes it's a slow withdrawal of energy. You stop reacting. You stop rescuing. You stop participating in conversations that only exist to keep you small. You don't announce it. You just stop feeding the system. Because the real exit isn't physical. It's psychological disconnection. You start noticing the patterns. How they guilt you when you say no. How they flatter you when they want something. How they frame your silence as disrespect. Your boundaries as betrayal. And you realize it's never been about love. It's about control dressed as care. Approval tied to obedience. Affection given in exchange for performance. So you unplug. Not from people, but from the reflexes they installed in you. You pause before you answer. You let texts sit unread. You stop over-explaining. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You start to feel empty. But it's not emptiness. It's space. Space where guilt used to live. Where fear used to make decisions. Where your good persona used to operate on autopilot. This is the clearing. The psychological vacuum that forms once the conditioning stops running. And most people run back at this point, back to the role, back to the familiar, but you don't. Because you've tasted something stronger than comfort, you've tasted clarity, and once you feel that, you can't unfeel it. You can't go back to fake. You can't unknow the game. You can't reinstall the program. When your system has already begun to purge, so you exit. Not with words, not with noise, but with stillness. And in that stillness, you start to remember who you were before they told you who to be. Part 4. The rewrite. You've deleted the old code, but deletion isn't enough, because the mind, just like any system, hates a vacuum. If you don't write something new, the old will return. Disguised, softer, familiar, waiting to reinstall itself. So now, you write, not affirmations, not optimism, commands, short, sharp, strategic. I don't need permission to exist. My silence is a boundary, not a weakness. I owe no one an explanation for my peace. I define my worth, daily, deliberately, without debate. This isn't about being positive, it's about being in control. Every belief must pass one test. Did I choose this? If not, it goes. Every voice in your head must face one question. Is this me, or was this installed? If installed, you uninstall. You start identifying thought patterns like malware. If I disappoint them, I'm bad. Delete. If I'm not productive, I'm worthless. Delete. If I say no, I'll be rejected. Delete. And for every deleted belief, you write one new one, not to impress, not to convince, but to command your inner world with precision. This is not healing. This is engineering. You're building a mental system. That can't be hijacked. That doesn't beg for approval. That doesn't run on fear, guilt, or validation. And the best part, no one has to see it. You don't need to post it. You don't need to explain it. Because this isn't for show. It's for sovereignty. Your inner language becomes your law, and from this moment forward, nothing gets installed in your mind without your consent. Part 5. The Map. Freedom is not a feeling, it's a system that runs underneath your thoughts, silently, predictably, unshakably, one that cannot be hacked because you wrote every line of its code. And this system has 5 pillars, 5 coordinates, 5 rules of internal operation. 1. Silence as power. You no longer respond to be understood. You no longer defend to be safe. You don't fill space with noise. You let silence speak for you, because now it carries authority. Every time you choose not to react, you reinforce your control. 2. Emotional neutrality. You are no longer emotionally available for manipulation. Praise doesn't inflate you. Criticism doesn't collapse you. Guilt doesn't move you. Shame doesn't bind you. You feel dash, but you don't obey your feelings. That's power. 3. Narrative override. Every thought gets filtered. Every belief gets questioned. Every internal story is audited. You ask, who wrote this line? Why do I still believe it? Does this still serve me? If the answer is no dash, you replace it. No hesitation, no negotiation. Your mind is no longer a recycling bin. It's a controlled environment. 4th, energetic boundaries. You don't need to explain your space. You are the boundary. You don't respond to bait. You don't absorb projections. You don't clarify for people committed to misunderstanding you. Your presence is either granted or denied, and you don't announce which. Access to your mind is now invitation only. 5. Selective presence. You no longer show up everywhere. You're not available by default. You protect your time, attention, and energy like currency. And when you do appear, it's intentional, rooted, controlled. You're not reacting to the world. You're curating your engagement with it. Together, these 5 elements form a map, not for escape, but for command. You don't run from the old system. You replace it with a structure that serves no master, answers to no guilt, and responds only to one voice, yours. Part 6. Conclusion. You are now unwritten. You were not born with a name. You were given one. You were not born with beliefs. They were installed. You were not born with guilt, fear, or urgency. Those were downloaded, slowly, quietly, over years. But now, the system has crashed. Not because you fought it, but because you stopped running it. You stopped chasing approval, stopped explaining your boundaries, stopped negotiating your worth. You paused, you questioned, you rewrote, and in that moment, everything changed. You are no longer a reflection, no longer a reaction, no longer a product of who they needed you to be. You are unwritten, a clean file, a blank command line, a sovereign mind. No longer responsive to old triggers, old patterns, old programming. This isn't a rebirth. It's the first birth, the first time you've ever existed. Without their voices echoing inside you, you don't need to find yourself. You need to build yourself. Deliberately, quietly, without apology. And from now on, every belief you install is yours. Every action you take is yours. Every line you speak is yours. You are no longer a character in their story. You are the author of your own. From conditioned to conscious, from inherited to chosen, from controlled to free. Welcome to sovereignty. CTA. For the next 7 days, question every inner voice. Audit every reflex. Delete what was given. Keep only what was chosen, because true freedom isn't escape, it's authorship. And from this moment on, no one writes your mind but you.